with Dr. Robert House. We've been talking about mortgages. The last topic that we talked about, which is the foundation, is pooling and servicing agreement. And I need to understand, our listeners need to understand, you can tell I used to be in radio, listeners, what a pooling and servicing agreement is in defense of that.
We said that you need to understand that pool and service agreement is the agreement between all of the players on your securitized loan. Mm-hmm. Okay, that's what they're calling pretender loan. And it gives out who has the authority to do what. So what one needs to do when they get the pool and the service agreement, because they can't read it, is to have somebody to interpret it for them. And that is called a security, an SEC investigation. In other words, this is a crime scene. Think of this as a crime scene. This mortgage thing that we're in is a crime scene. So now we've got to go in here and look for hair particles, blood particles, fingerprints, that kind of stuff, the evidence. Mm-hmm. So now we need somebody to go in and investigate that pooling and service agreement and tell us what went wrong with our mortgage, even if you're up to date. See, that's the person that doesn't get it, because to me, and I don't want to be insulting, but this is the person that has their head in the sand. Mm-hmm. And you cannot have your head in the sand. You are going to have to be proactive, whether you're in foreclosure or not. Even if you're ahead of the game or up to date, you still need this vital information as to what's going on. And we need to have that pooling and service agreement investigated. Okay? So we have that investigation done for you. And we're going to show you why the necessity for that in a little bit more detail at the I don't like to call these things seminars. I like to call them workshops, because we're teaching. Okay, we're not selling. If it doesn't make sense, this thing is, and I hate to be so brutal, but this thing is so in depth and so involved that all my courtesies have left my body. You got me? If there's any doubt, I hate to say this, John, but don't come.
Well, that's right.
Are you following what I'm saying? I'm not being apologetic about this, because this thing is absolutely, I mean, I use words like fearful now. You know, these guys have been so damaging to the United States, where we grew up, and they haven't cared, and they don't care. So we don't get into any argument with anybody. John tried to give you a little history on how this thing got started. It's like anything else. Anytime you have an unregulated industry, you're going to have some smart guys out there that's trying to take advantage of it, and they did. Okay? So I'm not apologetic for my tone at all.
I can't imagine why anybody who owns a home wouldn't want to know how to protect it.
Oh, absolutely.
I mean, we buy fire insurance, we buy termite protection, but the greatest threat to our home, even if we're current, is what you're talking about in this pooling and servicing agreement.
Right.
What actually happened at the close.
Exactly.
And if we don't have that kind of information, we're putting one of our biggest assets at risk.
Exactly.
So why would we want to do that? It doesn't make any sense.
Well, lack of education, that's all.
Lack of education.
And nobody...
But you have given them insight, so they can't use any system.
Right. But taking consideration now, not being argumentative, but agreeing with you, is that this type of information is not on the web.
No.
There's no companies floating out here from an education standpoint of view. There's people out here that are doing loan modifications with no info. And when we talk about a loan modification, which makes no sense at all. And I believe you were in the industry for a little while.
Oh, yeah.
You know,
own the company.
Own the company, the loan modification company. Why would you modify a fraudulent act?
To reaffirm it. Here's what they're doing, and they don't understand. And I did not understand this. I'm going to plead ignorance on this. The banks are now advertising on television for you to come in and get a loan mod.
Right.
Why? Because they know that their supporting documentation on that original loan is fraudulent.
It's fraudulent.
But if you come back in and reaffirm it, you have just said, I don't care what happened in the past. I now forgive all of that, and I'm signing new documents.
Right.
I guarantee those will be up to date.
Those will be up to date. They will have their defense mechanisms inside of that. There will be a lot of things. Well, all you're doing, you're giving your rights away again.
Exactly.
For the second time.
Right.
You got me? Watch this. Two people that don't even own the note, don't even know where the note is. But you're talking about a loan modification, a loan that doesn't have the original promissory note.
Right.
Okay.
Right.
Which is far-reaching, and you and I already talked about this, and that is, well, what would happen if you called the bank up and you told them, hey, I want to pay this mortgage off next week? What type of document would they give you to prove that you paid the loan off?
Exactly.
We're not even getting into that. I just throw that.
They'll probably tell you to pay online. They probably say go online.
We're just putting together some loose ends and bits and pieces as we end our program this afternoon.
I did want to talk to you a little bit because I know there is a scam going around the United States. Mm-hmm. People are doing something they call an audit.
Right.
And they're charging a few $100s for that.
Oh, more than that.
And yeah, rather than that. And now we need to tell these people what the difference between a forensic exam is versus a forensic audit.
Okay. When we talk about the pool and service agreement, we need to have that an SEC investigation done of that contractual obligation between all the other players. Now, there are certain things that happen at the close. Remember we said we don't know what happened. Most people don't know what happened at the close. Well, there was a lot of faulty stuff that happened at the closing, at that closing table, that the homeowner did not know and was not made aware of, not disclosed. So there's actually two examinations, investigations that you need. One is the SEC investigation. We talked about that one. And the next one is called the forensic examination. Forensic examination. That is an examination forensically done by a background CPA, but his background is dealing with examining paperwork, documents. How is this document? And the laws that this person is relying on is called the Truth in Lending Laws, TILA, and RESPA laws. Okay, did you violate any of those? When we have completed a forensic examination, we find that we can find as many as 7 violations, 7 or 8 or 10 violations to maybe 15 or 20 violations in examining the documentation. Okay, like I told you when I first opened up my documentation after 8 years, when I pulled those documents out of the brown envelope, guess what I discovered? They had given me blank documents.
Oh, really?
Yeah, I didn't have any copies of my signature on none of those documents. Okay, and rightly so. But I didn't know that because, see, what I was supposed to see, and this is what nobody understands at the close, is that when you get those blank documents, that's really to your advantage, so that you can go have those signed in front of a notary, and then you take them and record those documents. Now, there's a lot of controversy back and forth whether or not you want to do that. But to put it in a word, I was upset. I said, I felt like a fool. 8 years ago, they put them in a thing and gave them to me, and I took them home and put them in a drawer. Now, 8 years later, I open them up and take them out, and it's blanks.